بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
As we grow in our religion, one of the things that starts happening is we start talking about the problem of the Muslims, the problem of the masjid, the problem of the world, the problem of politics, the problem of, da'wah in America, the problem of some brothers and sisters on my college campus who don't do this and don't do that. And brother, I was talking to this one Muslim who doesn't pray. How do I convince him, etc., etc. Problems, 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 and they're usually somebody else's problems, and you're trying to figure out the solution to everybody else's problems. In other words, the more religiously awakened you get, after a while, your concerns shift from predominantly being concerns about yourself to concerns about others. You just worry about others, as though you have already been resolved. That territory has already been conquered. Now it's time to move on and help somebody else. May Allah help those Muslims, brother, those guys from the Pakistan Student Association. Why aren't they in the MSA, the ones that are already 1 foot into Jannah, Why aren't they there? Why aren't they at the neighbor net? Why aren't they at this program or that? Or why aren't they showing at the conferences? What can we do for them? Well, first and foremost, we have to do something for us. And that's what this conversation of fear is about. I'm trying to address all of these different kinds of audiences, and there are even more categories. But let me tell you something. The more you're out there in activism and doing things, there's a very natural tendency to forget about yourself. You start getting concerned with the organization that you're serving, with the program that you're putting together, with whatever activity, and you start losing yourself in the process. At the same time, there's another problem. And this problem is across humanity, and Muslims are no exception. There's a certain perception you have of me, whatever that's based on. But it's not the same perception that my wife or my children have of me, or what my parents have of me. It's not the same perception. They know a side of me you will never know. And I know a side of you that's just partial. We meet each other in public, we say salams to one another. Even if we speak to each other for a little bit, I don't really know you and you don't really know me. But you know what happens when we present ourselves in public and we're out there all the time meeting with people, interacting with society, and we're not by ourselves much? You know what happens? We forget that there is such a thing as also talking to yourself. There is such a thing as being reconnected with yourself. We present a certain version of ourselves to the outside world. There's a certain kind of language you're not going to use at an interview. There's going to be a certain kind of tone you're going to take when you're talking to your employer or the imam of the masjid, or when you have a question with a scholar or something. There's going to be a side of you that you're going to present. And when you're among your friends, or you're at home by yourself, or you're among people that just completely know you, there's a different side of you that comes out. There's a different side of you. But you know what happens for some people? They put that face out for so long, they even forget who they really are. You become so used to presenting this version of yourself to the outside world, you don't even know what it means to look in the mirror anymore. You see someone who's not really there. We're not able to be honest with ourselves. I mean, really, how many of us have done the actual exercise of I know it sounds a little psychotic, but it's healthy. I actually happen to think it's therapeutic to talk to yourself and to be able to say to yourself, here are my shortcomings. Here is what is wrong with me. I tend to have an anger problem. I rush into things. I start things and I don't finish them. I don't give enough attention to one thing. I'm involved in too many things. I have short attention span. I am rude because when somebody's talking to me, I just start talking to somebody else. Or I can't seem to put my phone down. Or I have this addiction online that I can't get rid of. Or I have these friends, when they do the wrong thing, I don't say anything. I become a coward. I don't say anything. I don't even give them sincere advice. Or I have these late night hangouts and I keep missing Fajr. When is the last time we actually sat down and said, here is what I would like to change about my life? We're so worried about the world's problems, like we don't have any. And when you forget that you don't have problems, then the only fears you have is for others. You no longer have fears for yourself. What is a surprise then? Then when the dua is being made, when the Quran is being recited, you and I are having a hard time finding a tear to come out of the eye. Because the genuine fear is no longer there. That thought is not recurring in our minds. Hope is very powerful, but fear balances it. They have to go hand in hand. You can't have one or the other.